Hello interwebs, welcome to Let's Fix Computers. We're doing a bit of a voiceover intro for this video because originally this was going to be a prep video for a stream that I was going to do. However, a bit of the ways into this video, I changed my mind and decided to just record the whole thing instead. So I recently hit 1 million views on the Adamant IT YouTube channel. And this came and went, like 2 months ago, but it's kind of a big deal. And I thought I should probably mark the occasion because 1 million views is a pretty big number. So to celebrate, I purchased an 8x8x8 LED cube kit from eBay because they're like £15 or something like that. So it came in this packet with a load of assorted bits and bobs in it. And for this next 40 minutes, we're going to sit down and figure out how the hell you build one of these things. So sit back and enjoy.
So I've got to separate all these out and solder them all onto the board. So I'm just going to have a quick look just to see how long that is actually going to take. Because if it's going to take a long time, I will do that in advance. Likewise, most of these LED strips, I'm probably going to pre-solder all of those and just do like the final layer on stream. Because otherwise, the stream is going to end up being like 10 hours long and no one's going to sit down and watch that. So I'm going to take a couple of these pins out and just figure out how easy it's going to be to solder them in. I need to destroy the plastic around them. Let's use the cutters for that. There we go, there's one of our pins. So that's going to go in there, and that's just going to sit like that. So whoop, it falls out easily. So the next question is, if I were to use a little bit of flux, would that stick that in place so I can then turn the board over? So I've just put a tiny bit of flux on that, and if I poke the pin in, yeah, that's good. So I could flux those holes up, put all the pins in, then turn the whole thing upside down, and then I can just go along with the soldering iron and just go. So that's going to make that bit really quickly. So that is going to work. So I just need to prep all these pins so I have them in advance. And then that will be fine. Alright, so that's the pins sorted out. So the next thing, I may as well put these feet on the board in advance, because then the board actually can stand on its own. Phew. Alright, that's all my pins. Alright, now we've got to get rid of all of this bloody plastic. Alright, and the rest of it I will be finding in my shop for the next 2 months. So, we've got all our pins. Let's just take those off that magnet, that's not working. Alright, actually screw it, I can't be asked to stream this, I just want to build it. So, we're going to record. So here, let's just get started on this and we'll do it all in post. So as per my previous remarks, I'm gonna flux up the holes. We're gonna do this row by row. Okay, right, let's turn that over and hopefully the weight of the board on top should straighten out all those pegs. Which it pretty much has. Alright, let's fire up the soldering station. Alright, They're not hugely straight, but they don't particularly need to be honest. They look alright actually, I'm happy with that. Alright, let's rinse and repeat. We're all fluxed up. Now let's grab my tweezers, which may make this bit a little bit easier. I can just pick and place. Okay, that's all our bits picked and placed. Now we're going to turn it over. The flux is going to hold all of those in place, and when I place the board face down, it should center all those pins. So I'll give it a little bit of a wiggle. Now we should find all those pins are pretty much dead center, which they mostly are. Certainly it's good enough. Okay, here comes the soldering bit. Skadoosh. Right, how's that looking? Alright. They're not massively straight. We've got a couple that are looking a bit wonky. However, as I mentioned, these things don't really need to be straight. And I can probably just give them a bit of a nudge actually. A few of them I'm just going to touch up. Can I do that from the top, I wonder? Kind of. I think that will do. I can't see any that are horrifyingly off kilter. Cool. That's one of the bits. That was fairly painless. And that looks fairly tidy. I'm quite happy with that. Alright, so next we'll put all these chip sockets in place. So let's break those out. So we've got a mark there for the top of the chip socket and a mark there. So that's going to go in that way around. It's fouling on that. Let's do a quick bit of modification. There we go, now it's not fouling. Right, going to bend a couple of pins just to make that stay in place. Let's solder that bad boy. Alright, and check it. That's nice. That's our main controller ready to go in. So we've got this big ass chip that's going to go into that socket, but obviously we'll put all those chips in absolute last of all. So let's do a load of these smaller ones. We've got 8 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then another small one to go there. I wonder whether I could do the same flux trick to get it to sit down. Just flux up a couple of holes there. Hey, it worked. Beautiful. It's lovely and flat. Nice. All right, let's rinse and repeat for the others. Yep, that one's come out nice and flat as well. This fluxing method of using the flux as a temporary glue is really handy. It's a lot nicer than having to bend pins to hold stuff in place. That's sitting right. No. Get a leg there. And now what I'll do, I'll stick a solder blob on the end of the iron and push the other end in and spot weld. There we go. That's now holding that one in place so I can finish the job. This one was a little bit harder to get in place because it's got two legs under it, so it didn't quite want to sit as flat. Let's check that one. No, that one isn't quite flat compared to the others. I'm just going to see if I can do anything about that. I'm just going to press it into the board while I run the soldering iron down those legs again. That's an improvement. If I do that one more time, I think it'll be okay. That'll do. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better than it was just then. Alright, last one. This one's probably going to give me a little bit of trouble as well. Hopefully not as bad as that one though. Alright, there's all our chip sockets in place. Beautiful. So next, I'm going to place my long resistor thing. No idea what this thing is. I'm pretty certain it's a resistor. No idea how it works though, because it's all multi-pronged and stuff. Okay, so this is called a single inline resistor, a SIL resistor network. So there are two types of these. There's this one which has the dot, which as I suspected denotes pin 1. And then the other type is known as a 4S, and that has 4 independent ones inside. However, this is not that type, so we can put it in with the dot toward J1. And once again, I'm going to do that same trick of just using a little bit of flux to glue it in place. Okay, what else goes on this side? So we could put in these capacitors and the crystal. So the crystal is effectively a timing, well, it's not a timing chip, it's a timekeeper. It makes sure that the whole system is working in synchronous. It keeps everything going at the same time. That was a terrible explanation. Flux it. And we're going to give the same treatment to the two ceramic capacitors that go on each side of it. Just press those in so they're sitting down. That'll do, I think. Okay, so now we've just got these resistors to go on. Okay, there's our resistors in place. As you can see, I've just been bending the legs over underneath as I go. So let's turn that over and just see how horrifying that's now going to be. And the answer is very. I probably should have done this in a couple of passes. Let's see how well this goes. Okay, so some of those have just stood up slightly where I nudged them. So I'm going to press those in as I reflow them. That's more like it. Okay, right. So now I can probably straighten these out in this direction, and now I can just run down this length. Here we go. And now to trim. Those look okay. So that is this half of the board, this side of the board finished. So let's flip over and do this area. So we've got, what is S2 and S3? I have no clue. What do those connect to? They all go to vias and jump about. Alright, we'll come back to those in a minute. We'll see what we've got left over. Start from this end and work along. I have no idea what pin is pin 1. Ah, it's keyed. Nope, it appears that they are not keyed. So we're going to put it in that way around. Why won't you go in? There we go. Get on there. Right. Right, so once again we're going to solder one, and then I'm going to press the component into the board while I reflow that. To make sure it's held in place. On-off button. Okay, capacitor. J3. J is a jumper. I wonder if that's a debugging, some kind of debugging connection. We'll come back to that. Longer leg is the anode. And this LED is not remotely straight, so again we're going to solder one leg and then reflow it into place. So these ones are the other rating that came in the kit. Oh, that's pretty crap. Let's reflow that. Standing right up off the board, that is. Okay, and one more capacitor. Okay, right. Now I just need to double check that nothing is supposed to go there or there. I believe there must be debugging or something because I don't have any components that go in there. So let's just double check from the guide video of someone else who's already built one of these. Yes. The guide video that I've been having up on one screen just in case agrees with me. There is nothing supposed to be in these spaces here. So that must be just development stuff. Cool. Right, so theoretically, if I stick some LEDs in here and give it some power, it should light up. I'll rephrase that, when I've put in some ICs. So let's drop those ICs into place now. Start with the big mama. So I need to bend these pins slightly so it'll fit into the socket. Let's do the others. So we've got a shorter chip from my Selectorama that's going to go in there. Let's just give this the leg bending treatment as well. Half moon, half moon. In you go. Press that in. That's in. Nice. Right, now we've just got to put in all of these things. I think these are registers or something like that. I should have put that switch in last, because the board has suddenly become a lot harder to work with now it won't lay flat. It's really annoying. Alright, there's all our chips in place. So, this thing should be able to power some LEDs now. So what we're going to do, I'm going to very carefully open up this enormous packet of LEDs, all 550 of them, and we're going to plug a selection in, and I've dropped one already. So, because these are labelled C, C8, 7, 6, 5 and so on, I believe that they must be cathodes. I don't think they'd be labelled as cathode if they were not cathodes. So long leg is the anode. Now this is obviously not how the LEDs go, but I'm doing this just to test with in one of the tutorial videos I watched, the dude did this so he could check if things were working before he actually soldered together all his wafers. Ah, piss. Man, I'm not looking forward to doing all the LED soldering. However, at least I will know in advance whether it works or not. So when I do start soldering all the LEDs, I can rest easy knowing that the board is ready for them. Whereas it would really suck to plug in the wafers and it not work. I need some pliers to help me. These legs are surprisingly difficult to insert. Fine. We don't need a good connection here, we just need a connection. There we go, you're going to point sideways, because whatever. Alright. Let's get some power on this. So the whole thing runs on 5 volts and comes with a USB cable. So I can just plug it into this power bank and that should power it. Here goes nothing. Bam. Alright, apparently it does need to start up, so let's let it think about it. Well, that looks kind of promising. It's dancing. Although the problem is, of course, because we don't have the full matrix, we've no idea if that's what it's supposed to look like. However, the LEDs are working individually. They're all flashing, so something is happening. I'm going to take that to mean that it works. Okay, so it's time to solder some LEDs. As you can see, I've made myself up an 8x8 template, and I made this by pressing the circuit board into a sheet of paper to get an impression of all the pins, and then I put the paper on top of this cardboard and I pressed into it with a biro to make some holes. I then went round all the holes with an LED to punch them out into an LED sized hole. So now we've got this 8x8 grid. So what we need to do now is put all the LEDs on there in a pattern. We have the positive leg gets bent down and the negative leg gets bent to the right with a little bit of a gap on it just so it clears positive legs as well. So we're going to do that and place that on the grid. And now we have to rinse and repeat for the entire grid. Okay, so we've made our grid of LEDs, and as you can see, some of the legs are a little bit wonky, but we're not going to panic over that. I'm going to align them as I solder them. So now I need to solder all the negatives together and all the positives together. And I'm going to try and do this as close as possible to the base of each LED, so that way I can trim off the excess leg, and this section down here eventually is going to fold sideways so it can connect to the next layer. So we're building these up in vertical layers, so that's going to be the bottom and that's going to be up in the air. So let's start down here and just, everything's moving. Pin those together. God damn, I'm glad I didn't live stream this. Alright, that's all my cathodes joined up. Now let's do the anodes, which I probably should have done first because they're underneath. Alright, that is one layer done. I'm just going to go around and just touch up some of these joints because where this is my first one, I've kind of got better at it as I go. And some of these joints are a little bit crap. So that didn't go too badly. It was a lot harder than I was expecting it to be. The fact that I've got to do another 7 of these is a pretty daunting concept though. I haven't really decided how much I'm going to cut off of these wires, so I'm just trying to straighten them up as best I can so they can kind of be used as structural. Alright, I think that will do. Let's pop that out of the template and see what it looks like. I think it's going to be very curved because my template isn't flat, but we'll find out. Alright, that's not too bad. It's not exactly a perfect square, however, it'll do. And I think I can just probably use a pair of pliers just to tweak some of those legs straight. Alright, now that is going to plug in to Alright, I think that's it. 7 to go. Okay, so I'm just going through my next layer of LEDs, and in order to test these layers, because the first one had a couple of issues, I'm setting my multimeter to voltage mode, and in this mode it's got just enough juice to fire up the LEDs. See that little blue glow there? So this allows me to check each LED as I go. And I have found that I've got a couple of duff ones on this one, which I've marked out with these little dots here. So below, above, but this one ain't lighting up. Now the reason why this one's probably not lighting up is I've probably got the LED the wrong way around. So that's how we're testing the LEDs, so I can check which ones are duff, and then what we're now going to do is pull out that individual one. So I'm going to use the tweezers here and the soldering iron to just disconnect its legs. That's one. Then get the one above it, and then get the legs that are going across to it. No, that's the wrong one. You can stay, you're fine. That's the bit we want to take off. And then from there. There we go. Now I can just wrangle that out. So we just straighten those legs back out. Made this mistake a couple of times now. It's just where I've got to put on so many LEDs that it's inevitable that I'm going to get a couple the wrong way around. So we'll slot him back in the correct way around and just reconnect the legs. There we go. And let's just go over that one again. Multimeter in voltage mode. Oh, that one's DC. We'll put that back on in a sec. However, as you can see, those are all working now. I knew there was one I'd missed. And it's done! We've got all the layers in. However, there is one LED that's the wrong way round that I've spotted. So we need to take this fella out and turn it around or put a new one in. So let me see, we need to desolder from there. And I'm doing this very cack-handed for the sake of the camera here, so please excuse me. There we go. This was from the first layer I did, so this was when I was still making the mistakes. I've got this one down to a fine art now, although every layer except the last one, all of them, I had at least one faulty LED or one that was in the wrong way round, just where I just didn't spot it. So this was tougher than it looks, I can tell you that much. Well, it's not tough, it's just time consuming. As is soldering this thing in situ. Right, that was a faff, but it's on, and that is round the right way. Let's power it up. Go! Hey, look at it go. Look how pretty it is. Now I've just got to wait until night time and I can get some dark shots. Okay, so it's kind of hard to get this thing into the right light and angle that the camera can get a good look at it, but it's kind of cool, really. The LEDs don't look like they're at full brightness to me, but I can't be bothered to go through this thing with a fine-tooth comb to figure out exactly how to boost the voltage to the LEDs. It's probably because they're blue LEDs. I have a suspicion that the red one would have been brighter. But yeah, at any rate, it was kind of fun to build. So yeah, my advice if you're going to do one of these, they are time consuming. You do need to make the jig. It's harder than it looks to get a clean finish. As you can see, this one it's not perfectly straight. The wafers are a little bit wobbly here and there, but it's not bad. However, it was a lot of fun to build. I enjoyed making this thing. It's kind of a shame it's not programmable because the standard patterns are a little bit too fast and it's hard to make out exactly what it's trying to do, but you know, it's doing its darndest to do something. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, thanks for 1 million views, everyone. I'll see you all in the next video.